All right, so welcome to my panel. My name is Emmet Black. As the title says, this is Competitive Battling 101. It talks all about the competitive side of the Pokemon video game, and we'll start out with a little bit of history, go into basic needs and stuff like that, and go into a little more complicated stuff afterwards. But without further ado, let's start out with the history of Generation 1. Come on. All right, Generation 1 was really based on speed and luck, but there was no IV system or individual value system at the time. So all stats for Pokemon were almost the same. So if you had a Raichu and a Raichu, you just basically coin toss. Whoever's going to go first is based on a coin toss. Just like it says, began the popularity of paralysis inflicting moves such as Thunder Wave and Body Slam. It had very little mechanics, and a lot of them were very unbalanced. Some of which actually could break the game.
Earthquake.
Okay. And the metagame was mostly filled with the same Pokemon, just like Gengar, Mewtwo, Dragonite, all that good stuff. Going on to Generation 2, just do it.
Oh, really?
Generation 2 introduced us to two new Pokemon types, Dark and Steel. It was very notable for splitting the special stat into special attack and special defense, and instead of just having that one little stat screw you over in a heartbeat. It introduced us to items such as leftovers, which in turn helped promote the slow-paced and defensively oriented nature of the metagame. Moving on to Generation 3, I know I'm going a little fast here. Somebody say Mudkips? Like Mudkips. Alright, now Generation 3 actually brought us the IV system and EV leveling. It also brought us natures, abilities, stuff like that. More varied strategies were made thanks to the inclusion of items such as the Choice Band and Choice Scarf, which for those of you who don't know, items like that will lock you into the first move you use. So it's kind of those things that will help you or can hurt you or your opponent. The inclusion of all the new Pokemon made it really hard to cover all the threats in the metagame on one team. So it was starting to really take off at this point. Once again, it was dominated by certain Pokemon. There was a lot of Raikou, Jirachis. I was about to say Mudkips. Thanks, person in the crowd. But yeah, it's just like Generation 1. It's dominated by the same Pokemon over and over.
It also brought the transgender Pokemon.
What?
Currently, transgender Pokemon, dude.
No, stop. All right, Generation 4. It brought us the physical special move split. Beforehand, moves were either physical or special based on the type. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, all steel type moves I believe were physical. I could have had that wrong. And all fire and water moves I believe were special. It didn't matter if they did physical damage or not. It brought in a bunch of evolutions for older Pokemon, underrated Pokemon such as Yanma, Lickitung, stuff like that. By now, there were way too many Pokemon to be able to make a team to counter every threat in the metagame. So at this point, this is all or nothing.
I gave up after Generation 2. I stuck with Generation 2.
At least you're not a Gen 1er. Any Gen 1ers, man, leave my panel now. Team advantages, they became more significant, bringing many trainers advantages right from the start. Generation 5.
Sucks.
Oh, he told you?
Who's the Gen 1er in this audience?
I'm also a Gen 1er. Get out! Hey, with Gen 1 and Gen 2, that's it. I stopped after 250.
Still not good enough.
I stopped after 250. I was like, no. No.
So like, oh yeah, Generation 1 is so amazing. Oh, we got an upside down Pokeball. Anyways,
Hey, don't mess with Voltorb. Or Electrode.
I'm about to say, get it right. It brought Generation 5 brought more new Pokemon at one time than any generation before, just barely beating out Generation 1, which brought us 151. This brought us, I believe, 156 at one time. It introduced hidden abilities and team previews, which gave a lot of advantages to trainers from the get-go when you saw the opponent's teams. Yeah, team preview made some of the most staple leads of 4th generation obsolete. We'll get into more staple leads in a bit. It introduced an exponential amount of new abilities, moves, items, stuff like that. Now, right now, we're still working on Generation 6. It introduced us to Fairy-type Pokemon, Mega Evolution, and Primal Reversion. Yeah, it nerfed weather effects to last only 5 turns, whereas every generation beforehand, it lasted the whole battle, pretty much. Certain resistances for type matchups were changed, not counting the ones for Fairy type. If I'm not mistaken, Steel type, it was nerfed, so it doesn't resist Dark type moves anymore. Minor increases and decreases were made in some base stats and move accuracy, such as like Razor Leaf, Tackle, stuff like that. Some stuff that nobody uses. But yeah, I'm going to show y'all a little video real quick. Now, keep in mind, we're going to focus on singles today, but we're going to see a little bit of what the metagame has become like. No, hold on. So yeah, it's doubles, but you'll see about what it's like.
Both Swagger and Taunt, so that hidden power won't be available to hit the Landorus on Tolar's side.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what these players can adjust to against these two teams. We're heading right into the game. Tolar on the top of your screen. Let me hear you if you want to hear Tolar win. And on the bottom half of your screen, that's Rafael Vergara, that's Landorus and Thundurus. Is Canada in the house today? All right, a little bit of a home field advantage for Tolar, but there are some Canadians here backing Rafael, so double genies for Rafael, and then 1 genie and the rain for Tolar.
Yeah, Palutode, one of the Pokemon that is different between these two teams. Palutode can do pretty well against Landorus, not quite as well against Thundurus, though. As Rafael will likely remember from checking on Tolar's team, does have that Wakan Berry, so single Thunderbolt definitely not going to knock it out. Depending on how bulky the Palutode winds up being and how the Thundurus is trained, it might actually take 3, so not quite the type advantage you might be hoping for. However, unlike most Game 1s, he knows this information coming in, so this might feel a little bit more like a second or third game in the series.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if these players can make those adaptations. Thundurus taunting on Tolar's side, doesn't want Rafael's Thundurus to get any motivation or any momentum on the side. Earthquake from Rafael, going to try and just deal some damage to that Politoed, most likely trying to go for a quick KO on it. Thunderbolt onto the Politoed, activates the Wackenberry, so not going to be able to pick up the KO here unless he gets a critical hit. Not quite, down to a red HP. Dealing good damage there, so Politoed going to hang on with just a sliver of health to get a scald back on Landorus. 5 HP, but the burn! And Tolar is excited about that. That's going to be a KO on that Landorus thanks to the burn.
Yeah, Landorus just barely goes down there. It seemed like that was going to be a positive trade for Rafael, even though neither side was going to get the knockout there without that Scald burn. It's an advantage when you've got the faster Pokemon in that situation, but it just doesn't quite work out there. Politoed able to survive because of the Wakan Berry. For a second, I thought that maybe Rafael had just forgotten that it was there, but I think it still would have been a good trade. Unfortunately, Landorus just not quite able to hang on there.
Yeah, Gardevoir now out on the field for Rafael. We did already see the taunt coming out from Tolar's Thundurus, though. So if Rafael wants to get the Trick Room up, he's either going to have to make some hard reads or get that Thundurus off the field.
That is, and I think one thing both players are probably going to be looking to learn here is which Thundurus is quicker. I know that information isn't available to them yet, so big deal, especially when both of them have taunt.
and Raphael's Thunderous, previously taunted, has to switch out so he can come back in at a later date. Heatran now on the field, but Heatran, even though it's kind of a frog, does not like the rain, being that fire typing. Gardevoir Mega evolving right away, puts on its Sunday best for this Championship Sunday. Politoed protecting itself as well, just trying to make sure that it survives another turn. And Thunderous, using that Thunder Wave, wants to make sure that it has a chance of restricting the attacking ability of one of Raphael's Pokemon. Gardevoir is paralyzed, and it's fully paralyzed, so not able to get off any attacks, and really good turn for Toller there, but you have to worry about having a paralyzed Gardevoir if you know that it has Trick Room.
Yeah, that option is definitely available. If he's afraid enough of it, Taunt is a good way to stop it, but that'll definitely come at a cost. I think Politoed clearly protecting there to try to avoid having to deal with a Hyper Voice, and if he does go for that Taunt, it takes a Hyper Voice in return. It kind of erases the advantage he got in the last turn. Also, we see Heatran joining the field. On teams like Raphael's, we tend to either see it with safety goggles to help deal with enemy Amoonguss, which would be helpful here since Toller has one, or Life Orb. This Heatran is the Life Orb variant, so it's going to do big damage if it gets some attacks off.
Well, hopefully it can deal that big damage even in the rain. Politoed switches out for the Aegislash. Usually not something you want to switch into a Heatran, but with the rain up, going to be a little bit more protected. Thunder Wave again from Toller's Thunderous, going to paralyze the Heatran. Heatran gets the Earth Power off onto the Aegislash slot, going to deal good damage to that, not worrying about the rain at all. Super effective, about half of its HP. Of course, you see that Life Orb recoil is the reason why Raphael was able to deal so much damage. Hyper Voice from Mega Gardevoir dealing more damage to both of Toller's Pokemon, just enough to activate that Citrus Berry on Toller's Thunderous. So getting that item out of the way can be huge for making sure that Thunderous is unable to disrupt the rest of the team.
And Thunder is certainly going to be able to take a couple more attacks. Fortunately, avoiding that Hyper Voice earlier with the power of Paralysis, which will allow it to take one more. And Paralysis could be a big deal here. Gardevoir opting to go for the offense instead of using Trick Room. So Aegislash, a relatively slow Pokemon, is going to be quicker than either of these. Should be able to easily take out that Gardevoir if it has the opportunity to. So definitely going to cause some caution in Raphael here.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of caution for Raphael, but Toller is also playing cautiously, protecting his Aegislash with that King Shield. But Gardevoir also going to protect itself, going through the paralysis. Thunderbolt from Thunderous onto Heatran, going to deal damage. We'll have to see if Heatran's going to be able to get off any damage as well. Heat Wave into the King Shield, and going to connect with the Thunderous, but of course in that rain, not going to deal that much, but actually a critical hit, plus that Life Orb, making sure that Thunderous still feels that one.
Thunderous didn't enjoy that very much at all. Usually a Pokemon that's trained to take special attacks very well, and the rain's up and it still just chucked it.
Yeah.
However, Heatran also chucking itself a little bit with that Life Orb recoil. Has to worry about Thunderous knocking out with a Thunderbolt, and a great read by Toller using that King Shield. It might not seem like one since Aegislash wasn't targeted by anything other than that Heat Wave, but staying in shield form like that allows this turn to be a little bit safer for him, and he couldn't get that big KO last turn because Gardevoir was going to protect itself anyway. A good read knowing that Gardevoir was going to play it safe.
The Aegislash is going to continue to play it safe as well with Wide Guard on his team. Thunderbolt onto the Heatran, going to see if it can pick up that KO. Yes, Heatran will go down. Toller's Thunderous just able to deal enough damage, and Gardevoir is paralyzed again. So Raphael not going to be able to get off any damage that turn, and just takes the paint onto Heatran. So unfortunate loss of a Pokemon there, and another full paralysis.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. Gardevoir may have been using Hyper Voice anyway. Certainly that's what Toller was expecting as the Wide Guard keys there. But either way, Toller's got a 4-2 advantage now. That Thunderous coming back in fully healthy. Taunt, Thunderbolt could both be very helpful here. Taunt to that Aegislash would make things a little bit more tricky for it. Make it harder for it to dance with this Gardevoir. But Thunderous not like to let that happen. And both sets probably wanting the information this turn of which Thunderous is quicker moving to get to. So regardless of what happens here, it might not be the worst thing in the world for either player. Big part of these mirrors between the two Thunderous is realizing, if I'm slower, I have to Thunderbolt them from rid of the taunt, and it's kind of getting that idea on the floor.
Or of course, if they're the same speed, you have to win that coin flip.
Yeah, the best thing to do, right? Just make things a little bit more of a toss-up, which will be a big advantage for whichever player wins game one, if so. And when you have to play through those coin flips over the course of a series, you're expecting to go about even, right? That's a coin flip, so winning the first one's a big deal.
Well, Toller is going to take a Thunderbolt. Thunderous moving first for Raphael. Thunderbolt not enough onto the Aegislash. The Thunderbolt from Toller's Thunderous onto Gardevoir, going to connect. Aegislash switching over to its Blade form on the offensive. Most likely going to try and get that Gardevoir down. Shadow Ball comes out onto Gardevoir. The handshake across the table. Easy KO onto Gardevoir. Raphael dropping this first set, as it's just his Thunderous against the Sword and Shield and the Thunder Genie.
and the Juve pals in the back as well. Toller likely not going to get the clean 4-0 sweep here, but I'd assume we'll probably see a forfeit and a really dominant Game 1 victory by Toller.
Yeah, very dominant from Toller, not quite 4-0, but still very much in control the entire game. Of course, Raphael may have gotten enough information about some of those speed tiers that you mentioned before. Toller going with the taunt again onto Raphael's Thundurus. Probably wasn't going to try and do anything but attack this turn anyway. Only way for Raphael to get back into it would be to knock out some Pokemon. Gets the knockout onto Toller's Thundurus, but Aegislash with its own Shadow Ball, of course, deals so much damage to these Pokemon. Thundurus really bulky though, able to tank that pretty easily.
Yeah, both sides learning a little bit about how much damage Aegislash is going to do, which I think was also actually key to the turn where Gardevoir was knocked out. We saw the Thunderbolt and the Shadow Ball targeting it. Toller definitely assuming that he wasn't going to be able to pick up that knockout with just a super effective Shadow Ball. Some of the Aegislash we've seen this weekend throughout the top cuts in all three age divisions actually. I've seen a lot of Life Orb Aegislash, players choosing to go a higher damage route where Toller's been a little bit more defensive with his, even though it's a quicker Aegislash. He's going with leftovers, and that takes your damage down a little bit. So I need a partner to help out, pick up those big knockouts sometimes.
Well, one of those partners could be Mega Gardevoir, as Toller finally switches that in, shows that Gardevoir is his Mega that he chose to bring. So Thunderbolt from Raphael, going to deal good damage to that Blade form Aegislash. We'll pick up that KO, so a respectable 2-1 lead for Toller now. Hyper Voice from Gardevoir, dealing full damage to Thundurus, though, as the only target on the field. A critical hit, just gravy on top of that one. Picks up the KO, and that's going to mean Game 1 for Toller Webb and America.
Oh no! No!
I
No!
feel like I've seen this guy somewhere. Where have I seen that guy?
Oh, don't tell me.
That's right.
Why? Why Digimon?
We don't speak of that here.
Just like how we don't.
Digimon is not bad.
Like how we don't speak of M. Night Shyamalan was the last episode.
All right.
Do not bring up M. Night Shyamalan's Airbender. Good God, that's not forward.
All right.
Attack on Titan live action.
So going back to this, just as you've seen,
I just want to see what that was.
that was the video game championship. I think it was the Nationals, or my bad, yeah, the Nationals of World Finals. I wasn't even paying attention. Yeah, most online tournaments consist of single battles, a lot of which have themes like you'll see Halloween, Kalos only, stuff like that. However, most major tournaments, such as the VGC, consist of double battles and are usually filled with similar Pokemon. Like we just saw a bunch of Thunduruses and Landuruses and Gardevoirs. So, going to items, items can be the difference between winning and losing a battle. There's no doubt about that. Some items, such as the Choice Scarf, just like I said earlier, they greatly boost a certain stat, but they lock the player into the first used move. Other items, such as the Life Orb, greatly boost offensive moves, but at the cost of HP, which that actually might be a good thing. Some items, such as the Iron Ball and the Lagging Tail, are primarily used in conjunction with the move Fling, but could also be used with moves like Gyro Ball and stuff like that. Continuing on with items. Items like the Rocky Helmet and the Sticky Bar work wonders for dealing residual damage to physical attackers. You'll usually see something like a Rocky Helmet on a Ferrothorn and stuff like that. You might see a Sticky Barb on like a Cacturn. Other items like Toxic Orb can be used to heal Pokemon with Poison Heal ability, or thrown using Fling to badly poison opponents. Trick or Switcheroo are great moves to use to lock opponents in by forcing a choice item onto them. I've done that. Alright, so going on to Mega Evolution.
English.
Only one may be activated per battle.
Is everyone having fun?
What are you doing?
Go on. Go on.
Anyways, yeah, only one may be activated per battle. Mega Stones cannot be taken by moves like Trick or Switcheroo, unlike regular items. Abilities such as Magician, which is the Finnegan Line's hidden ability, and Pickpocket will not snatch Mega Stone from its user, or from its holder. Pokemon with Klutz, and if you don't know what Klutz is, it is a useless ability that prevents Pokemon from using their held items. But they're still able to use their respective Mega Stones.
So wait, how they look for Lopunny?
What was that?
How they work for Lopunny?
For what?
How
Lopunny,
they work for
the Playboy bunny.
Did you say the Playboy bunny? Well, I mean, just like I said, even though it's got Klutz, it'll still be able to Mega Evolve. So you wouldn't have to worry about that. Except for HP, a Mega Evolve Pokemon has different base stats, and I don't know why, but I believe Speed is the only one that is not taken into account as soon as the Pokemon Mega Evolves. However, stuff like attack and defense automatically change whenever it Mega Evolves. Of course, as a lot of people know, they can have a different ability and type from its normal form. Case in point, Ampharos, which turns from electric to electric and dragon. Styles of play. Offensive teams rely on a lot of outspeeding and outdamaging the opponent directly. Players, and I use this myself sometimes, players who are using this style will often utilize hard-hitting Pokemon, kind of like Aegislash, which is banned in a lot of tournaments. They use resistances and immunities to switch into attacks as opposed to define walls to take hits, and you'll find out what a wall is a little bit later. Tactics include. What the world was that? What are you, a mime, Mr. Mime? No, stop. You stop. Tactics include using lures to eliminate counters, using stat boosters such as Ninjask or Smeargle, or usually utilizing a quick stealth rock in order to facilitate kills, which also works wonders for Pokemon that have the sturdy ability. Gets rid of those real quick. Stall teams are based off of residual damage. I use a partial stall team. This damage can come in many forms, including Sandstorm, Hail, Toxic Spike, Spikes, and Stealth Rocks. The majority of Pokemon on a team like this will have good defenses and contribute to the overall goal of indirectly fanning the opponent's team.
Question. Would those be walls? Would walls fit into that kind of good?
Not really. Some
Okay.
of them, but not really.
Okay.
Hold your questions. Why are you even up here?
I learn better at the front of the class.
Okay then. Tactics include using Ghost-type Pokemon to block Rapid Spin, my bad. A move which can eliminate all entry hazards. Setting up entry hazards as fast as possible. In case in point, Smeargle, that's a great one. Using pseudo-hazing moves, which we'll find out about later. But they're mostly like Parasong, Whirlwind, and Roar. Natures is kind of basic. There are 25 different natures altogether. Most natures raise a certain stat by 10%, but decrease another stat by 10%. Just because a nature increases the desired stat doesn't always mean it's the best one to pick. For example, a Pokemon meant to use only physical attacks would most likely benefit from the Adamant nature, which raises attack by 10% and lowers special attack by 10%. Just the opposite would be the Modest nature, which raises special attack and lowers attack. The 5 natures of the 25 that do not affect any stat are Hardy, Serious, Bashful, Quirky, and was it Docile?
Docile. Or docile, either one works.
Docile, never heard that. Come on. Oh. Alright, now this is where it starts getting a little complicated. Effort values are invisible numbers that can help boost stats. Every four effort value counts towards 1 stat point for the Pokemon. Every Pokemon is capable of having a maximum of 510 EVs with a maximum of 255 EVs in any one stack.
Except for in X and Y because they changed it to where the ceiling now caps out at 252.
Yep.
Yeah.
I must have mistyped that. That was just, Smogon. Gotta love that Smogon. Shut your mouth.
The attack is called Smog. Smog on.
That's what I thought.
Smogon in German.
Dang!
Thank you.
We're in America.
You're Italian.
No, I think he's Mexican. He looks like he's Mexican though.
Whoa.
Oh, but it's true.
Blackface.
Point the camera.
Two effective ways to gain EVs are to super train and participate in horde battles. Now, super training is if you go into the player search system on X and Y and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, you'll find I think PSS, Pokemon Me, and super training. Super training regiments are where Pokemon face off against Pokemon-shaped balloons in a soccer-like fashion. Level 1 regiments boost effort values by 4 at a time in one specified stat. Level 2 boost by 8, and finally level 3 boost by 12. Why is it stopping? This is not going to be good.
Don't overload it.
Weird.
These arrows is a lot better than their spacebar.
Alright, now training bags are something, when regiments are completed, Pokemon earn bags that can raise even more effort values, which you never get the one you need. Trust me. Small bags boost EVs by 1, medium bags by 4, and large bags by 12, just like their respective levels, well, actually, except for level 2. Occasionally you'll receive a double up bag, and this bag it will double the EVs gained in the next training regiment.
Is this faster? We had like in the old days when we had like
Had you find them Zigzagoons, battle them. Proteins.
Ultra balls.
I personally find
Ultra Balls? How are Ultra Balls going to help?
Catch better
horde training is the quickest.
No, you need to get good. That's what you need to do. Why are you even here? You're not even learning. Alright, so horde battles. Horde battles are always activated by the use of Sweet Scent, or if you don't have a Pokemon with Sweet Scent, the honey item works.
Except if it's raining in that.
Yeah, I was getting that. Pokemon that are in horde battles will raise, they'll raise EVs by either +1 or +2 per Pokemon, usually making that the best method to train EV Pokemon. EV trained Pokemon. That's my opinion. Somebody else might think something else. I found it's the fastest way. Putting a Macho Brace on the Pokemon you want to EV train doubles the EV points gained by beating each Pokemon. So, again, my opinion, makes the fastest way. As long as you know where to find these hordes.
Oh,
now, right this time.
Also, there are items that specialize in raising stats, like Power Bracer and other stuff, and that raises.
That's for IVs, not EVs.
No,
that's IVs. That's
no,
for
Ivy's
for
no,
breeding.
Ivy. No, fool.
Nobody uses those. They use the
No,
Macho
it's
Brace.
no, it's a ×5 multiplier, dude. Oh, you need to watch Tamashi.
Anyways,
Oh!
Got that on.
what? Shut your mouth. All right, so
I got a question.
yes.
Over there.
Oh, yes.
Is using power saves to modify the EVs considered like unethical?
Get out of my panel.
I was just wondering. I was just
do it too!
Oh, called out.
Jeez.
Give me that. No, I don't. Don't listen to him.
Will we still be able to compete?
Honest, I don't promote it. There are ways of making them look legit, but Nintendo over the years has. Yeah, they might get past something like the what's it called, the Pokemon Bank or the Pokemon Transporter. They might get past that, but if you take them to like an official Nintendo tourney, they have stuff that can check it. It's like phone tracking. It's ridiculous.
Even if you patch it,
Huh?
Even if you hatch it, even if you
I've heard about that.
Yeah, even if you hatch it, they will be able to tell.
Because the IVs are set even when it's still in the egg.
Yeah, and you never, like these people with 6 IV shiny dittos. No. Like, why you lying?
Always conveniently from Japan.
Why the frick you lying?
Why you always
No,
lying?
no,
You don't have
objection.
any say so in this.
Objection.
Overruled.
Dang it. Thank you. Thank you, Phoenix Wright. All right, now, getting back to this, individual values are where it gets even more complicated. They're invisible numbers, just like EVs. These range from 0 to 31. 0 means that particular Pokemon stat is the worst and lowest it can be. 31 meaning that the stat is the best and considered a perfect IV. Unlike EVs, IVs cannot be changed and are permanent when you obtain the Pokemon. Yeah, unless you hack, and I don't promote that. Don't you say anything. There's no guaranteed way of obtaining the exact IVs you want. The best way to get a Pokemon with good IVs is by breeding. Now, I could go into that, and that would be a whole 2-hour panel by itself, and I'm not doing that. Go watch the J-Wits. He'll explain it. It'll make your brain explode. He made mine explode.
I'm not gonna try and learn this.
Going on with individual values, in most cases it's only possible to obtain a perfect Pokemon through the use of a battle simulator, like Showdown, Pokemon Showdown, which is basically a program built for the express purpose of allowing competitive players to quickly and easily assemble entire teams of perfect Pokemon and battle them against others. See how they match up. Might match up, might not. Hey, it keeps you from wasting your time. It's also possible to acquire perfect Pokemon through trading networks of competitive breeders, such as, like myself, I go on the Cerebi.com online chat, and thus use perfect Pokemon and competitive strategies and Wi-Fi battles in real-life tournaments. Now, when people list IVs, they usually list them as this right here, a bunch of X's. In order, each X represents HP, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed, respectively. All right, now, this is some terminology that you might hear in the metagame. You might not know what it is now. You might. Something called Chesto Rest is what a lot of trainers know, using a Chesto Berry and Rest in tandem to wake up instantly after using Rest, which that's kind of common and very well known. Bolt Beam is Thunderbolt and Ice Beam. Any meshing of electric and ice type coverage is generally referred to as pseudo Bolt Beam coverage. You won't really hear a lot about this. You may hear it every once in a while. Now, Paraflinch is very common in the metagame. It utilizes both paralysis and flinches to keep an enemy Pokemon from being able to attack. I utilize Pokemon like that myself, and it's very annoying to opponents. They usually forfeit. Parafusion, another one that you might hear a lot of, is utilizing both paralysis and confusion to keep an enemy Pokemon from being able to attack. Some people have put in paralysis, confusion, and flinching. That's ridiculous. Getting onto a little role terminology. Alright, let me get you. The attacking lead is it's a Pokemon in the lead position who attacks immediately and generally doesn't do anything like setting up. You might see an Aegislash or something doing that, or an Infernape. They usually don't really set up.
The point man.
What?
The point man. The one who puts the lead. Point man.
Shut your mouth. A Baton Passer it's a Pokemon that uses Baton Pass to pass the boost it accumulates through setup moves such as Swords Dance and Agility. Now, again, Smeargle, perfect Pokemon for that, and Ninjask. Highly recommend both of them. A Cleric
is a priest.
Priest?
Oh, he's a point.
A Cleric is a Pokemon who uses aromatherapy or Heal Bell to cure itself of its team and of its status. Chansey and Blissey, and I believe Audino are really good Pokemon for this. A dual screener is basically a Pokemon that uses moves like Reflect, Light Screen, and Wish, and sometimes using Baton Pass or just straight up switching out with the intent of passing them on to another Pokemon. Blissey is a great one for that. I could be confusing it with something else, but I think it's Blissey. A Glass Cannon is a Pokemon who has really high offensive power, but is really frail. Trying to think of a good Pokemon for that one.
Infinite?
What? Infinite?
Really strong attacks.
That is true. Infinite is a, huh?
Alakazam and Rampardos.
Yeah.
Especially Alakazam. Very good Pokemon, very high power, but Mega Gengar. Yeah, there you go, Mega Gengar. More role terminology consists of a Mix Sweeper, a Pokemon who uses both physical and special offensive moves to do damage and bring down a team. I don't really utilize one of those myself. I either go straight up physical or special. A physical sweeper is the same thing, just basically uses physically offensive moves to do damage and bring down a team. Special sweeper, same exact thing, but with specially offensive moves. I can read all that. A rapid spinner, we heard about this earlier. It's a Pokemon that uses rapid spin to remove entry hazards. Fortress is a good one for that. A wall, a Pokemon that it's intended to take either physical or special attacks and very effectively and consistently over the course of the battle. Dusclops, Chansey,
Mega Venusaur.
Bless you. That scared me. That woke me up. Thank you.
I lost a life.
This isn't about you.
You got to say Bronzong.
Yeah, Bronzong. There you go. I don't know them all. I must admit.
Regigigas?
Dang it. Nobody uses Regigigas. It's too slow. A tank.
They bring the military into this?
Why don't you go sit down?
I am.
Alright, it's a Pokemon intended to take either physical or special attacks and hit back. But it doesn't have to do with I can't speak tonight. It doesn't have to do so consistently over the entire course of a match. Again, I don't run one of those. Battle clauses. A lot of these you'll see in certain tiers, which we'll get into in a minute. The sleep clause is very common. It states that the battle automatically goes to your opponent if, at the end of your turn, 2 of their Pokemon were put to sleep by a move that you use, but were not forced into. So basically, if you use Hypnosis and you put 2 of the Pokemon to sleep, you lose. You're out. Which is kind of dumb. They need to get good. The species clause, another common one, is it states that a player may not have 2 Pokemon on the team that share the same national Pokedex numbers, regardless of the form. Doesn't matter. The evasion clause, it's not that common. I do see it sometimes, but it states that a player may not bring a Pokemon with the moves Double Team or minimize in its moveset. The Oko clause, very common one. I believe I've seen it in every single tourney. It states that a Pokemon may not have the moves Sheer Cold, Guillotine, Horn Drill, or Fissure on its moveset. Basically any one-hit KO moves. Why are you shaking your head, sir?
I lost on my 40th fight in the Battle Maze because of Pride going on. They used Sheer Cold twice in a row. I'm still mad about that.
More about battle clauses. You'll see a Moody clause. It's not used a lot. It states that a team may not carry a Pokemon with the ability Moody, like Smeargle, Octillery. Item clause is not used a whole lot. States that 2 Pokemon on one team may not hold the same item, which could potentially mess my team up. The endless battle clause states that any moveset on a Pokemon that is capable of causing an endless battle is banned, such as like Recycle, the move Recycle in conjunction with a Leopard Berry, with Heal Pulse, Milk Drink, all that good stuff. Yeah, again, it may not carry may not hold a leopard berry and carry recycle and pain split on its moveset. Go to the next slide. Stop being stupid. Baton Pass clause. I don't see it. I see it very rare. It states that only one Pokemon per team may carry the Baton Pass move. Oh God, why did I make 3 slides of this? The freeze clause, very uncommon. States that 2 or more Pokemon on the same team may not be frozen at the same time, basically regardless of what happens, forced into it or not.
That's kind of stupid though.
It's like, due to technicality, it doesn't say that. It doesn't have the same thing as like a sleep clause.
Yeah.
It doesn't say, oh, if you're forced into it, it's no big deal. No, it doesn't have that. So due to a technicality, it doesn't matter how you did it. If you were forced into it, it still goes to your
No,
opponent.
but I mean that's still really dumb.
It is.
Smogon.
It's Smogon, dude.
Hey, you gotta remember that people complain because they're not prepared and they just want to win the battle.
Yeah.
It's like in Yu-Gi-Oh. They always complain about certain
Um,
cards.
The self KO clause states that if both players have only one Pokemon left, moves which KO both the user and the opponent are not allowed, like Explosion, Destiny Bond, all that. If recoil damage would cause a tie, self KO clause does not activate, and the player who last attacked is the winner. Just like I said, certain clauses such as the item clause are not typically used in competitive play, but are used in Nintendo tournaments. Tier listings are very, very, very easy. Little Cup, basically Pokemon with no evolutions are banned, and must be no higher than level 5. Clauses in effect. I'm not going to go into all that. You can see that. Never used or NU clauses in effect are the same as Little Cup. Pokemon used such as Meganium, Gramble, stuff like that. Rarely used clauses in effect, same as Little Cup. Pokemon such as Gastrodon, Jolteon, you'll see those a lot in RU. UU or underused clause. I'm not reading that again. Pokemon such as Mega Sharpedo and Milotic are using that. Then you get into more common, which is overused. Same as Little Cup, but you have also the Baton Pass clause. Pokemon such as Talonflame and Thundurus are used. I thought Talonflame got moved to Ubers, but apparently I was wrong. Again, Ubers, Pokemon such as Primal Groudon and Mega Kangaskhan. You'll see those a lot. Mega Kangaskhan!
What about anything goes?
Anything goes. We don't talk about that. That is not official. Does anybody want to see anything about a sample team?
Wait, but what's borderline and limbo?
It's kind of a gray area.
It's kind of what?
It's kind of a gray area in the metagame. Like, a lot of people ignore that. It's like, it's a lot of people's like, okay, it's either an OU or Ubers or whatever. No, it's not. There's no borderline or limbo. A lot of people ignore it. It is there, but like people like me, I don't pay attention. Does anybody here really want me to go through a sample team? We don't have a lot of time. We only got like 3 minutes left. Yeah. I mean, this is, you can always watch the video later. Don't you be looking at my team. You're not allowed to look.
Hey, you're the one that showed off to the world.
Trainer tips. Always try to think of at least one step ahead of your opponent. Predictions are very key. Stab moves. If those of you who don't know, stab is basically, if you say you have a normal type Pokemon and you use like tackle, it'll do 1.5 times as much damage. They can help you out a lot more than you think. Make sure to have a balanced team. That's always the thing. You don't want to have a team full of physical attackers. Make sure you use the right items. They could potentially screw you over if you don't. Always be open to new Pokemon, abilities, moves, and items. I never thought I would use something like a Dusclops. I was like, ew, it's not fully evolved. I'm not using it. But any questions? Anybody? Anybody at all? Yes.
Why do people prefer Sylveon over Aromatisse?
Because I don't battle a lot of either one of them, but from what I have noticed, Sylveon can be Sylveon's very bulky. Aromatisse is kind of bulky, but I could be wrong when I say this. Sylveon, I believe, is in the power game. I could be completely wrong on that. But that's my own reason for seeing people use it. They're kind of the same. And you don't see it a lot in the metagame. Sorry if that doesn't answer your question correctly. Somebody over here had a question? Yes, sir.
So like, I haven't played Pokemon since the original Red and Blue. If I wanted to get on competitive Pokemon, like, what would be the first thing I need to do after buying the latest Pokemon game?
When I first got into it, I was watching a lot of competitive players online, such as Archizzle. I watched. I'm trying to think of what his name is. Yeah, Pimp Knight. I watched a lot of Pimp Knight. Gotta love him. Those Magikarp sweets, bro. But Pimp Knight, Archizzle, stuff like that. Those are good ones to start out with. Like I said earlier, IV breeding and stuff like that. I personally, myself, I don't IV breed, but because I go online and I trade and stuff like that. But if you want to learn more about that, I say go to Archizzle, or not Archizzle, the J-Wits on YouTube. He can explain it a lot better than I can. There's a lot of math involved.
I bought it online.
Yeah, but those three I would highly recommend. You need to check them out. But I would definitely recommend. I wouldn't go for X and Y unless you just really want to do the story. I would just go straight into Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire because you know you got more Mega Evolution options and all that.
X and Y aren't even legal this season anymore.
Really?
They're not.
Are you serious? I did not know that.
Yeah, you have to have a Mega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire.
That's so stupid.
It's because the new Mega Evolutions aren't compatible.
Was there any more questions?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Do you find it irrational that they put Lickitung and Gligar in the little cup because it's a first evolution?
I did not even know they were in a little cup, to be honest with you. I didn't know they were in a little cup, to be honest.
Yeah, they got put in that. I just find it irrational.
That's so weird. But I don't really get that. I really don't understand that myself. But this will be the last question. I'm sorry,
So when you don't really pay attention to tiers, or when you build a team, do you try and stick with the same tier for all your Pokemon?
I don't know if you really got to see the Pokemon that I had. Like I said, it was my team that was using the sample team.
Yeah.
Those Pokemon, Smeargle, Chansey, Dusclops, all those, it's all a mixed tier team. I don't go straight OU, UU, stuff like that. No, like Smeargle, I believe is kind of lower.
Do you think it's important in competition to try and stay in one tier?
It could be, but when you have a well-balanced team like that, I don't worry about it. I've got a trap setter, which is my Smeargle, defensive wall, which is my Dusclops, and a special wall at that. Chansey is a special wall. I don't remember what else was on there, but of course, you can always go back and watch the video. I guess I'll give you the final question,
Okay.
Trevor. You're so antsy.
So, mine's just kind of a general gameplay question, but if you're in a double battle, and you have a Gligar and a Gardevoir, and the Gardevoir has synchronized, if you toxic your own Gardevoir, will it synchronize with your Gligar?
I actually don't know. That'd be something you'd have to try out.
Because like I don't have a Gardevoir, but I've wanted to do that so I could see if Poison Heal activates.
That could be the same thing. That could be the same thing as me trying to use Map Block or use Smeargle to trace Map Block,
Yeah.
and have like one Pokemon attack, then that one use Map Block, and then vice versa.
Yeah.
Didn't work. I mean, it may work. You're welcome to try it, but that's all the time I have, unfortunately. So, thank you.
Everyone, give another hand because this is his first panel.
Yeah. Yes, and this is my annoying friend Miguel. No, he's not just some random spectator.
Are you serious?
Oh.
You haven't even started your panel yet, man. I gotta stop this one. God
Let's go,
dang.
Cena! All right. No problem, man.